It appears to be only getting worse and worse for Indiana Jones. So if for some reason you haven't had the chance to see Indiana Jones and the Dial of Disappointment, or you haven't seen the box office numbers or the reviews, then I've got a story for you, because this story from Fortune is making its rounds on social media big time with 2,000 likes, 310 dislikes, and 200 comments. It's kind of insane. People are very happy that this movie's not doing so well, and I've got a couple of reasons why, which we will go over. Disney's Indiana Jones 5 took in $300 million at the box office so far, a disaster for CEO Bob Iger and Lucasfilm. It seems that the word disaster follows this man around wherever he goes, and it doesn't look like it's showing any signs of slowing down anytime soon. Lucasfilm's fifth Indiana Jones installment is shaping up to be a disaster of epic proportions for parent company Disney and its veteran CEO Bob Iger. Released on June 30th, Dial of Destiny earned a disappointing $60 million in its opening weekend in the domestic theaters, and interest dropped off sharply ever since. Just 1 week later, it surrendered the top spot at the box office despite being one of the most expensive movies ever made. And now it has sunk to a distant fourth in the table. If I recall correctly, Sound of Freedom was competing with this movie big time, which, by the way, Sound of Freedom is a good movie. Don't care what anybody says. The new entry could no longer rely on the goodwill built up by the first three films after the critical disappointment of its predecessor, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Poor reviews and dreadful word of mouth look to now sink Lucasfilm's first theatrical release since 2019. But here's the thing about that. I don't want anybody watching this video to get confused. Just because this movie did really, really bad does not mean that it's because of Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I guarantee you it's not. People saw this movie coming a mile away. They watched the trailers and they were kind of disheartened. They were disappointed and they were worried that the movie was going to be bad, and it ended up being just as bad as they thought, and maybe even in a couple of ways worse. Its $302 million global take has only matched roughly the reported cost of its production budget, which suffered from expensive reshoots after test screenings indicated audiences were less than thrilled with the initial ending. And there is a link to click on here, but I imagine that the ending involved somewhat of a bait and switch, or someone taking on the mantle that nobody wanted to take on the mantle. Helena. Anyway, marketing and promotion are expected to have added easily another $100 million to that bill, and Disney still has to pay the theaters their share of the receipts. So $100 million in marketing, and of course, no surprise that they had to do something like that because the movie was looking like garbage. They had to do something. They had to do something shocking. I know that they had to bring on Harrison Ford for a few interviews, and he also did a promotion I think I saw on Twitter a while back where he's like, "I'm doing this for you all, the fans. I just want you to go see the movie." But people weren't buying it. Because the reality about Indiana Jones 5 is that it just presents us with a very, very old, depressed, drunk Indiana Jones, and that's how the movie starts, and that's basically how the movie ends too, with the woman taking charge, knocking him out for 3 days for zero reason. Multiple days. It's the stupidest movie. It really is, and the most disappointing thing about Indiana Jones and the Dial of Disappointment is that it's his last Indiana Jones film, okay? There will never be a Harrison Ford Indiana Jones film again, okay? The dude is old, really, really old. And why would they make a new film after that? It's really awful. It is. It looks certain to fall short of the global total for 2008's Crystal Skull, $786.6 million, wrote Box Office Pro on Sunday. The situation is far more dire, according to the Hollywood Handle. Dial of Destiny is not expected to even cross the $400 million mark in global box office receipts, half of what the fourth installment made 15 years ago, when a dollar went a lot further than today. I suppose that the argument could be made that since it was a Spielberg film, of course people were going to go see it, and they probably did because of that reason. But, James Mangold has directed great movies in the past. Logan was a really good movie. He's done a couple others that were pretty good. He was supposed to do Boba Fett. Never happened, right? But, this film was awful. And it really makes you wonder, like, how deep the tendrils up in the higher up parts of Disney and Lucasfilm were in this film, and how much they changed. I imagine that those test screenings were because of a replacement, though. I really do. This seems a safe bet, given the stiff competition it now faces in the form of spy thriller Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning, Greta Gerwig's Barbie, and Christopher Nolan's biopic Oppenheimer. In reality, the indie sequel needed to haul in around $800 million just to break even, so it won't even reach half of its target goal. It won't. And it never will. And that's actually insane. This is a Lucasfilm movie about Indiana Jones starring one of the greatest movie stars ever. I mean, if Indiana Jones as a franchise isn't one of the best franchises out there, then Raiders of the Lost Ark is at least one of, if not the best movie ever made. And it's fair to criticize this movie. I mean, they really just flipped the switch on the audiences with this one. They really did. I mean, who wants to see a drunk, depressed indie? Really? And just in case, I'm going to say spoilers. Okay? So if for some reason you care and you have yet to see this movie, I don't know what to tell you, but the whole thing with Mutt and what they do with Mutt in that story, my goodness, I've never seen such a careless act of hatred towards a character. It has to be intentional, but that's just my opinion on the matter. Let's continue to read. Should the grim predictions prove true, the Lucasfilm production could potentially rival John Carter as the Mouse House's worst ever live-action commercial bomb and call into question the future of studio boss Kathleen Kennedy, a former Fortune most powerful woman. Former, huh? That's very interesting. The thing about John Carter, though, as a movie is that movie was actually really good, and people actually liked that movie. Yeah, it didn't do very well, but it's way better than that other movie. I promise you that. And again, I want to reiterate that this is the last Indiana Jones movie. I mean, this is his last hurrah. And they thought that his last movie should be him just being a complete loser. All those heroic acts, all of those amazing things that he did with the Holy Grail and the Ark of the Covenant. I mean, for crying out loud, the Ark of the Covenant. All of it just goes to crap. They completely ruin his character. And he just ends up being a complete and total joke in the end. And that's disappointing. And I'm kind of sad that Harrison Ford took on that role. But again, that's just my opinion. Now, I would very much like to read a couple of the comments because there are so many on here. If you look right above me, you can see 200 comments. It's insane. So let's read a little bit of this. LK, since when is 300 million a disaster? See, that's exactly what I'm saying. These people even read. Of course it's a disaster. Oh my goodness. That's the first comment. Almost every movie today is a sequel, reboot, animation, or silly superhero movie. Hollywood is at its lowest point in its history, and I would have to say that is probably true. I'm sorry, but Disney lost its luster a long time ago. While the rehashes, sequels, they're running out of good writers and ideas. Who are they kidding anyway? I'm sorry, who are they hiring anyway? Oh, Kathleen Kennedy. She's the main problem. She's in charge of all of the Lucasfilm projects, and look what's happened to them. It's pretty obvious at this point. I guess people would like to watch a much younger action hero. 81 is way past the expiration date for action heroes and presidents. No, I'll tell you this. If they had put Short Round in that movie, okay, the actor who plays Short Round, if they had done that, I guarantee people would have seen it. They don't care that yes, some people might care that Harrison Ford is 81 years old, but if he's the center focus of the story and the story is told well, and they don't do a bunch of like millions of dollars of reshoots because people are disappointed in the final cut, well, then maybe you'd have a better film on your hands and maybe people would feel more inclined to go and see it. But again, that's just me, right? What do you think, Plato? That's a lot. That's a lot. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. So long story short, he didn't like it either, and he doesn't like the direction that this is going. All in all, with the circulating rumors about Bob Iger possibly wanting to sell Disney to Apple and the writer's strike and all of these huge studios just starving people, basically, I think that Hollywood is seriously on the way out. This is definitely a great time to be an independent creator, an independent filmmaker. I mean, this is your moment, guys. This is your moment to show how creative you can be and how resourceful you can be. Because once Hollywood's gone, people are going to be looking for a new way to be entertained. And I'm telling you, this is our moment. I hope you enjoyed this video. Like and share, and if you want to see more of my content, subscribe. And I hope to see you all again next time. Have a nice day. Say goodbye, Plato. Meow, meow.